What's up, y'all? We back again for another live stream. Anything new? How everything going? Everything cool over here. And it's late. I gotta get better. I didn't really fell off with this, like, for real. I still be doing it, but like it's supposed to be guests. It's supposed to be at 6 Central. But I'm gonna get it, y'all. I'm gonna get it. I promise. I just been getting in a weird space. But at least the actual podcast has been being recorded and dropped. And like I said, episodes are gonna be dropped. So I won't be before you long. It'll just be me today. So let's jump right into it. So this past week we did the episode with my homeboy and client, Kijuan Amey. All right. And one of the reasons why now, as a ghostwriter and I still do all my stuff, but as someone who now has made it to where I ghostwrite for transformational creators, high impact social content for transformational creators, which the packages will be dropping soon. A lot of things dropping this month, but that episode was about having sight but no vision. And in his case, he physically lost his vision, his physical sight, but he never lost his vision after being in a car accident that changed, or motorcycle accident that changed his life. And the episode was good because I think that was one of those ones that just rising from the ashes. I like that episode because it really was one of the only ones, I'm being transparent, that I actually teared up. Like you could see it. Like, out of all the episodes, that was the one, that the story that really got to me, because that was just so sad to see somebody so happy and still so full of life despite all of that. You know what I mean? Because I've heard people hear the story and it was like, I wish I would have just rather been born blind than become blind. Because when you become blind, it's still like, dang, you got parents. I wonder what they would look like at this age. I hear you, but I wonder how you look now, or your cousin. It's just so many things that you'll never be able to see again. When we believe in healing, like I said, if that's God's will, it'll happen. But I just found that story just very, good. But I like that episode because we did talk about just the purpose behind everything. We talked about the importance of, if you haven't listened to the episode, go listen to it. We talked about the importance of sometimes, we talked about distractions. And that's a big one. And I really think we may need to do a real big episode on distractions, and like maybe the distraction series, and talk about the things that distract men and why we're so distracted by A, B, C, D, E. I don't know. Because I'm still going to do another series. It just obviously won't be a mid-season series. It'll be the end of the season series. And it was one I wanted to do, but I don't know. And I don't know. I might have talked myself out of it. Might do something else. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. What was I about to say? But yeah, overall good episode. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. I also really liked how, I'm gonna come back to that. Let's jump to the first topic for today. Compliments of the Shade Room. Nick Cannon is back in the news, and he has a lot to say about him and his what he wants for his daughters. He's a man of many children. So let's see what he has to say, because he had a lot to say.
For you? What is it now? Is it age? Is it just experience?
I think it's a little bit of all of that, but definitely fatherhood more than anything. I mean, when you have 5 daughters and you're like, all right, I at least want to be able to be true and honest, but like I can't live the same life that I've always been living, and attempt to, right my wrongs, in that sense of where, like, hopefully my daughters learn from my mistakes and not date people like their dad.
And you open up and you say that you used to be a player. What changed for
Okay, quick little tidbit, not too long. All right, y'all, let's jump right into it, which is, what does this have to do with mental health? The study of how we act, think, and feel. So first of all, it's clear that Nick Cannon has come to, which I never thought he would, but he has come to kind of a realization, like, dang, I'm out here wilding, which that's usually how that happens, because they always say hoes get daughters. And they like, dang, like, I don't want them to date no man like me. But so some people may say, well, it's too late. You know, I saw a comment that says they're gonna date men just like you. Congrats, bud. And they may, but they might not. Only time will tell, right? But in his case, again, we're not above redemption. I mean, he's aware that what he did was wrong, and now he's kind of like, dang. But and on the other hand, there are a lot of men who followed up in his footsteps of trying to be like Nick Cannon, because he was preaching like, oh, you know, we creating marriage is Western, we didn't do that back in the day. They trying to say the multiple wives thing and multiple girlfriends and all that. If you feel like doing all that, cool. But I just feel like that's a lot. I just feel like that's a lot. People just think like, oh, they look at, I feel like, just from the lustful standpoint, like the sex, and oh, I can get this flavor today, I can get this kink later. But like, besides that, it's a lot. Your one woman is a lot. So now you got 3 or 4 of them, and you okay with that? And you okay with dealing with all of what they come with? So if this one is a lot, because men be losing, going great over one woman. So now you got 4 women that stress you out in different ways. It's just kind of like, yeah, I got to look past the sex, but I know lust is a powerful thing, and that's hard for people to do. But going back to Nick Cannon, I think that he's, like I said, he's ready to right his wrongs. And again, redemption is possible. But I will say that sometimes it takes those harsh or those extreme realities or those extreme, what's the word I'm looking for? It takes life to happen for you to realize, dang, I was really tripping. I was wilding out. No pun intended, since that's his show, right? WWID, what would I do in this situation? I mean, once again, when you realize you was wrong about something, and that's just life. As we grow and mature, you realize you was wrong. At 31, I shouldn't be thinking like this at 35. I feel like I should be advanced, or at really, I say 32. But like at 31, I don't think like how I thought at 25 or 30 or 21 or even 28. So you have to grow and you have to age and realize a lot of things that we did we thought was cool and made sense to us then won't always make sense to us in the future. So again, I give him his kudos for, realizing that wasn't right, and that, we have a generation of men who are following in his footsteps, people like him. And who was another person who got the multiple wives and girlfriends? They think like, yeah, we're going to do this because, and then don't let them be Christian, because they'll say, well, in the Bible, they did it. But again, there's a difference between description and prescription. So I'm describing what's going on and actually what we supposed to do. WWJD, what would Jesus do? If Jesus wouldn't have multiple wives. We're not called to have multiple wives. They say, well, the Solomon, the wisest man, had multiple wives, and then he fell. All these people, let me tell you something, fall into lust, and which we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because of the next topic. But fall into lust is not new. This has been happening. We just seeing it in real time, but it's been happening. It's been happening. And it's honestly, it's going to happen, I feel like, until the end of time. But you can't say you weren't warned. And that's the good thing about the God that we serve. And I really got that message really from driven home from Tiffany Montgomery. Like, God will warn you several times by yourself. Then he'll send people to warn you several times. Then judgment. So if you're doing something you ain't supposed to be doing, God gonna warn you several times. And then after that ain't working, somebody gonna come tell you like, hey, chill out. And even then, it's gonna be more than once if you're still not listening. But in this situation, he wouldn't have multiple wives. And if you do something wrong, as far as righting your wrongs, there's always redemption there. That's the Bible speaks of that. So what should men do in this situation? Not following his footsteps. Don't follow Nick Cannon's old footsteps. Now, if you want to follow the ones he's in now, where he's realizing trying to right some things, cool. But that whole multiple wives things, I'm telling you, that's a lot. I don't see how people do that. Even if you can financially take care of it, it's a lot. Them people like in them quad relationships and, them 3-way relationships. Polygamy, there we go. That's the word. And the different types of, I know it's different forms of polygamy. And yeah, that's a lot. I made a post one time. I was like, how you on Instagram? I said, how you in a polygamous relationship or polygamy, something like that. And I said, and you the only one that know. Basically, so the man in that, but the woman he with don't know. And somebody commented, said it's easy. It was a she then replied, I'm not doing it, but it's very easy. And I just said, wow. That's all I can say is wow. So to end off, salute to Nick Cannon, because He changed in there. I guess I never thought he would realize that, but sometimes it takes those extremes, and that's a subtle extreme because sometimes it's the big extremes like near-death experience and all that kind of stuff. But this is another extreme. Like you have daughters, you like it really hit you. Like, man, I don't want them to date nobody like me. But we'll see. All right, y'all. Let's move to the final topic for today. So Shannon Sharpe, I'm giving my take on Shannon Sharpe. We've talked about him before, but I'm gonna talk about him a little more today, based on him having to be let go from ESPN, and this is on his own platform. Which, hey, again, I give kudos to you before we get to the video that you're using your platform to speak on what happened. Because one, there's monetization, you get money from it, but then you get to tell your own story. So let me share my screen, and let's get to talking about Shannon Sharpe.
Before we get started, obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week. And really, the only thing that I really ask is, like, guys, could we wait until Monday? My brother's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted to be about him, and I wanted to be about my family. I know this coming out would overshadow everything that he's worked his entire life for. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. And so, as I told him, as I profusely apologized to him earlier today, he said, bro, stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. I'm your big bro. I'm going to love you regardless. We all make mistakes. And he says, bro, I love you. So I'm done with this. You're done with it too. Move on. And I really enjoyed my time at ESPN. It gave me an opportunity to bring my audience that saw me really just grow. They saw me, Lakers in 5, and they saw me say all these analogies that my grandparents gave me, and I was able to bring that to ESPN. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I just wished, of all things, like I said, hey, they did what they felt they needed to do, and I'm at peace with that. But I just wish, guys, this thing could have waited until Monday, because I hate the fact that I'm overshadowing my brother, the first two brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this is what the headline is going to be for the next couple of days. So, bro, again, I know you told me this, I don't have to apologize, but I'm going to do it one final time tonight, and I won't apologize again. I'm sorry that I upstaged you in this manner. That was never my intent. You've been my hero. You've been my role model from as long as I can remember, and I apologize, and I thank all my fans for supporting me. When I was at ESPN and every place that I've been, be it Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, Undisputed, ESPN. Thank you guys for your support.
All right, let's jump right into it before we end the night. What does this have to do with mental health? Study of how we act, think, and feel. So it's clear he has a lot of shame. And as I kind of said with the whole Nick Cannon thing leading into this, reiterating, God will warn you several times privately. He'll send somebody to warn you several times if you're still not listening. After that comes public shame. So, the point that I'm making with this is it never happens overnight. You never get caught the first time. You probably don't even get caught the first several times. And we discussed this on the live streams weeks ago when I brought up Shannon Sharpe. But I really just want to drill home that, their lawsuit and the embarrassment and all this stuff he's going through. Could it be a humiliation ritual? I mean, to get really down in the industry, could it be? Possibly. Could be. We're not going to say that it's not, but in the same breath, could it be just the consequences of his actions? Could it be both? Could be both. We just got to be realistic here. I think that with this situation, we see two parallels here, not even on purpose. And it's always crazy how two of the situations are always a parallel there. How both men are coming out now. Nick Cannon. Now, here's the funny part. So with Nick Cannon, you know how they was like, and I put this on my Instagram story the other day. I was like, y'all ain't got no shame. And up until now, he didn't have no shame. Now he didn't had the realization with his daughter's like, dang. And here's the thing with Nick Cannon. People been telling him, he had somebody in his corner like, hey, you need to chill out. Somebody been telling him what he wasn't doing wasn't right. But it probably was once. But sometimes people are just used to plant the seed. But going back to Shannon Sharpe, here you see the public shame. Now they both are shamed in different ways. He like, dang, like I've been playing all these women. This was bad for my kids. And he like, dang, like I could have, chilled out. Now watch this. I saw a post on Threads, and I wish I had it. And it said they sent him 3 prophets to tell him. Now I'm not saying them people are prophets. I mean, they could have that mantle on them, even though they're not necessarily living how they living under the Christian lifestyle, which is I forgot the other one, but I know for sure Cat Williams and Monique. They publicly warned him on his own platform. And sometimes, as I said before on this live stream, that sometimes people overlook jokes and think that because you're saying something and you're laughing that you're not telling the truth. And like they said, and Monique said it, you know, was saying it like the comment about the go get you an old woman, leave them young girls alone. And it's like, and he laughed, and I like him young, and he mocked. That's what they do. That's when pride gets a hold of you. You mock the warning. Somebody try to warn you, and you mock it. No. And then later on, you had to see, because now you're dealing with, again, public shame and all this money. You got the money, but it's like you spend it on something you didn't have to spend it on. You know what I mean? And will you be able to recover from it? Absolutely. What would I do in this situation? At this point in my walk, and I don't do everything right, but at this point, if I get because again, he warns you privately, and then he'll send somebody after the public private warnings don't work. But typically it's when you go numb to the private warnings too. Typically, again, I'm not God, so I can't say, but just typically it's when you like getting the private warnings, you ignoring them. But at this point, if I get enough, my prayer, and I say it public, is that I stop doing anything I ain't supposed to be doing before it's too late, and before I even get to the second and third phase. Let's stop it in the first phase. Let's get here this one time. Like, all right, leave that alone. You know what I mean? So this don't have to come true, or you don't have to deal with the public shame behind it, because you can overcome it. But then there's something called unnecessary warfare. So then now you're going through stuff unnecessarily you ain't have to go through, because you didn't have to go through that. Certain lessons you didn't have to learn. Y'all are aware of that, right? There are certain lessons you didn't have to learn. WWJD. What would Jesus do? So in this situation, one, Jesus wouldn't be in it, but the ethically, morally correct thing to do is, you know, and even with the public shame thing, going back to like, he's really upset that feel like he's upstaged his brother's Hall of Fame, and his brother's not tripping off of, but it's just like, dang, not only are you shamed for yourself, but now your family is embarrassed. But then it's like even something he could have never imagined, like his brother's big moment. He feels like this is being upstage and that, and that's sad to feel that way. It's hurtful, but it's like, what can you do? It's just you have to learn from this mistake and just see that, you know, certain things you just cannot do. And it's unfortunate, but some people, unfortunately, got to be learned the hard way. But in this season, I pray it ain't you. I pray you don't have to learn the hard way. I pray that won't be you. I pray it won't. But let's go in a little deeper. How does it feel to know that, you know, people getting clickbait off your stuff, off of you and what you're going through? I feel like it's embarrassing, and it will make you definitely feel a way like to know, dang, people are making millions off of my fall. But what does this teach the normal person? Because there's many people that will never be in the spotlight. But does that mean you wouldn't deal with public shame? No. You're not absolved from public shame, even though, no, you may not be on Shannon Sharpe level, and you have to give him his kudos for dealing with this on this level. Like, what's to say he hasn't been battling depression? What's to say, I hope not, but I hope he, you know, doesn't have any suicidal ideation. But what if he does? What if he did? You know what I mean? Those are things you got to think about. Those things you got to think about. Like, again, I hope not, but something to, you know. If it was you, before you get to bashing this man publicly, how would you feel if that was you? How would you feel if that was you? Again, one thing about these stories is we're not above redemption. So what should men do in this situation? If it were you, let's put yourself in his shoes. How would you feel? I've given what the blueprint on what to do. You know, ask God to show you any area of your life where you know, and not just show you any area where you should doing something you're supposed to be doing, but pray. I think that's a good thing to do. Pray for conviction. Again, we ain't perfect here, and I know I'm doing some stuff I ain't supposed to be doing right now. I ain't gonna hold you. One of them I know is procrastination. I be procrastinating real bad, but maybe I should start like praying, like, God, convict me of procrastination, convict me of laziness, because I got that bad. You know, my laziness is still better than the majority. Like, I still a little lazy, and I still be outworking a lot of people, but still. You know, convict me of laziness, convict me of procrastination, so that, you know, I can get more done. Something to think about. Something to think about. So again, what should men do in a situation? honestly, I pray you don't have to deal with public shame. But if you do, just take it on the chin and just let this be a lesson and really use your story to preach to other people. Like, don't be like me if you have to go through it. But my prayer is that you don't even have to go through that. Okay, y'all. So today, what was I about to say? All right, so today is Monday, obviously. Well, I can't say obviously because we all know that I'll be doing these on Tuesday sometime. But we have another episode this week, and guess what? It hasn't been filmed yet. It's another solo episode. What is it about? It's going to be about another quick turnaround. It's gonna be about obviously mental health, but our podcast, The Downfall of Men. Another solo case study episode. And it's gonna unpack like me being a podcast, not just us creating them, but also us as men, listening, binging them. Is it a downfall of men? Are they a downfall of men? We're gonna talk about it. Do a case study on it. So be prepared for that. Thank y'all for tuning in this week. Again, see y'all Thursday. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And as always, remember, I love us for real.